Since the less than perfect reception for Game of Thrones Season 8,
best season ever!
and the success of House of the Dragon, there have been rumours surrounding future Game of Thrones spin-off shows. In this video we search through all the speculation and rumours to find out which shows are officially still in development, and which shows have been cancelled. We look at the confirmed shows in active development, such as the Jon Snow sequel, and spin-offs that have been cancelled, such as the woke prequel show that filmed a pilot episode which cost $35 million. Number 1. The Jon Snow sequel, status, in early development. George R.R. Martin confirmed via his blog that a sequel to Game of Thrones is still in the works, with a working title of Snow. The sequel to Game of Thrones Season 8 will feature Jon Snow as the lead character and his life beyond the walls with the Free Folk. One would imagine that the Jon Snow sequel would tie into the rest of Westeros, with Sansa in the north, and King Bran, Tyrion, Davos and others in King's Landing. Although there has been no official announcement from HBO, George R.R. Martin has confirmed that the Jon Snow series is in early production, having this to say on his website. It seems as though Emilia Clarke has already mentioned that Snow was Kit's idea in a recent interview, so that part is out. Yes, it was Kit Harington who brought the idea to us. I cannot tell you the names of the writers or showrunners, since that has not been cleared for release yet, but Kit brought them in too, his own team, and they are terrific. George further goes on to say that Kit Harington's team have visited him, and their team of writers are working on the show together. Kit Harington is slightly more coy around the topic of a Jon Snow spin-off, often answering questions by saying no comment.
Yeah, I can't tell you anything about that, I'm so sorry.
He recently had this to say about the Jon Snow sequel, whilst on Jimmy Fallon's show.
What is you as Jon Snow?
Yeah, I can't say anything on that.
Emilia Clarke also confirmed the Jon Snow series is in development, and is being organised by Kit Harington. During a BBC interview, she said, "It's been created by Kit, as far as I can understand, so he's in it from the ground up. So what you will be watching, hopefully, if it happens, is certified by Kit Harington." So with some pretty strong confirmation, I believe the Jon Snow series certainly has a high chance of being greenlit, possibly after House of the Dragon has concluded. And it just makes sense to create a separation between a Jon Snow series and a much maligned Season 8 of Game of Thrones. Snow will essentially be Game of Thrones Season 9, as it will carry on from the events of the end of Season 8, so it will be interesting to see how they continue on from the story from Season 8's rather unpopular ending. We also have to consider whether the actors from Game of Thrones would return, and whether HBO can still afford them. Number 2. Bloodmoon, status, cancelled. Next, we have the Game of Thrones prequel, set 8,000 years before the events of Winds of Winter. The spin-off show was titled Bloodmoon, and a pilot episode has already been produced and paid for, costing HBO around $35 million. The premise of Bloodmoon was to explore the early stage of the White Walkers during a period known as the Long Night, when the Children of the Forest and First Men team up to destroy the Walkers. In 2019, Bloodmoon was taken off the HBO register after a pilot had been shown internally. Robert Greenblatt, the former chairman of HBO's parent company Warner Medias, had this to say about why the show was cancelled so late into its development. "It was higher risk, higher reward. There wasn't anything glaringly wrong with it. Development and pilots are hard." He then goes on to say, "It wasn't unwatchable or horrible or anything, it was very well produced and looked extraordinary. But it didn't take me to the same place as the original series." The Sun, a newspaper in the UK which sits on the right wing of the political spectrum, claimed that an HBO insider had told them the real reason Bloodmoon was cancelled was because it was too woke, putting lesbian characters at the heart of the plot and focusing on colonialism from the First Men. This source told The Sun that HBO were terrified the first prequel would scare hardcore fans. It was very different to the original series, but was very brave and bold. Plainly, it was too ambitious for bosses, who thought it might alienate viewers. The prequel was very woke and subversive. The HBO insider continues, "They've missed an open goal to do something different. Spending more than $30 million and 3 years has been a monumental waste of time and money. There's a lot of angry people." I imagine we will never get to see the Bloodmoon pilot, but from the sounds of it, HBO made a good choice by having House of the Dragon as the first Westeros show post Game of Thrones. Number 3. The Sea Snake. Status: in early development. George R.R. Martin has confirmed that they are developing a Corlys Velaryon prequel show, with the working title The Sea Snake. The Sea Snake series serves as a pseudonym for Corlys, and also the name of the ship he built and sailed during his many voyages in his younger years. The Sea Snake would differ from House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones, which explores the interconnected politics of different houses, and would instead focus on the lead protagonist, Corlys. There were recent rumours that The Sea Snake was cancelled when Discovery took over Warner Bros., but George R.R. Martin confirmed that this was not the case, and that The Sea Snake is still in production, saying this on his website. I see all these stories on the net about other spin-offs being killed or abandoned. No idea where they get this stuff, and it just makes me shake my head. The Nymeria show is still in development, so is the Sea Snake show. Just had a great week on that one, working with the writers. With Corlys Velaryon already becoming a bit of a hit with fans in House of the Dragon, I think there's about a 50% chance that the Sea Snake show will make it to our TVs. Number 4. Dunk and Egg. Status: confirmed and in development. On the 12th of April, Warner Discovery officially announced their rebranding of HBO Max to Max. Very creative. In this relaunch, they announced a new Harry Potter series, as well as a new prequel to Game of Thrones, titled A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight. Seemingly the marketing geniuses that changed HBO Max to Max were not available to come up with a snappier title for the series. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight, will feature Sir Duncan O'Toole as he wanders through Westeros with Aegon Targaryen V, who is in line for the Iron Throne. The Hedge Knight is less of an epic political thriller, although that will play a part in the background, and is more of an intimate journey as the two unlikely friends, Dunk and Egg, travel across Westeros. The series promises a wolf and cub adventure, in a similar vein to when Arya Stark and the Hound travel together in Game of Thrones. The backdrop of the show will be the first Blackfire Rebellion against the Targaryens. Timeline-wise, the show will be set in between the events of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones, taking place about 100 years before the latter. George R.R. Martin had the following to say about the show. HBO has given us a green light to film for a full season, not just a pilot, most likely of 6 episodes, though that is not set in stone. Ira Parker, Ryan Condal and George R.R. Martin are noted as executive producers, all of which have worked on House of the Dragon, so the show has a lot of potential, as unlike the Jon Snow sequel, George R.R. Martin has written, and most importantly finished, the Hedge Knight novella, which the show will be adapted from. The Princess Nymeria series, also known as 10,000 Ships. Status: in early development. Like the Sea Snake, 10,000 Ships is another spin-off focusing on one character. 10,000 Ships will tell the tale of Princess Nymeria, known as the Warrior Princess, and her journey to Dawn. In May 2021, it was confirmed that Amanda Segal would be writing the series. George R.R. Martin also confirmed that 10,000 Ships is still in early development, and has not been shelved, as rumours in the early part of 2023 suggested. Out of the 4 shows in development, I think we can expect A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight first, perhaps after 4 or 5 seasons of House of the Dragon, and then possibly the Jon Snow series after that, followed by The Sea Snake and 10,000 Ships. You would imagine HBO are smart enough not to make the same mistake that Marvel and Star Wars have, by running 2 or 3 shows a year, sometimes overlapping each other, as this could cause Game of Thrones fatigue. It's also worth noting that the Sea Snake and Princess Nymeria would have to be written from the ground up really. Although both of their lives are referenced in George R.R. Martin's books, there is not too much detail about the characters, more of a summary, so that would give the writers and directors a lot of freedom to play around with. As for the Jon Snow sequel, it would have to be created entirely by Kit Harington, George R.R. Martin and their writing team, as there is no source material for that point in the Game of Thrones timeline. So what do you think about these shows? Do any excite you? Would you like to see a different Game of Thrones spin-off? Let me know in the comments below. We cover all things TV and film on the channel, including the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 review, coming out next week. If you enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing to the channel. It's early days for Film Club, so liking, commenting and subscribing really means a lot. Thank you, and see you again.